Hey, welcome everyone to the Hustle Faithfully podcast, where determination meets devotion.
Find us on all streaming platforms at linktr.ee/hustle faithfully. Today we are going to be discussing condemning statements. Have you ever had someone come over to your home? Have you ever had somebody come to your place of residence and just drop trash here and drop trash there?
Mm-hmm.
Do you let them stick around?
No.
Why would you allow somebody to pour condemning statements into your head in the same way? Drop a little one here, drop a little one there. It's not a big deal. They'll push away.
Right.
How do you handle that? How do you work through that?
By not being complicit in story, condemning statements in my own head. Because the thing is, it has to have something to attach itself to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're already someone who's predisposed or conditioned for negative thinking, it's easier to accept negative thinking.
Sure.
You know, but if you're not, and you're someone who's conditioned to think the best, to think positive, to have a faith forward type of approach to life, it's hard to accept those things and you reject them instantly. They don't have the same effect. You know, so that's why not having condemning statements or saying things that are condemning to yourself is so important, because that self-talk invites the same into your life.
I guess because you know me so well, you knew exactly where I was going, because that was leading you into so oftentimes it's us putting the condemning statements in our own heads and in our own hearts.
You better believe it. Yep.
When you're doing that, how do you work through it?
Now, the condemning statements, how do you work through them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the greatest ways that I do it, I have to find out, why do I believe what I believe about myself, or why am I believing these things about myself? Because we've talked about a lot of things when it comes to how we've gone about life, seeing life based on what we've gone through or experienced in life. You know, like our thoughts become a sum total of all of our experiences and all the things that's been said to us and about us from the time we were small up until our adulthood. You know, where we have this well of things that's been said, a well of things that's been done, and we draw from it. Now, if you had a lot of negativity that's happened, the well you draw from, when you reach down and pull things up within the depths of your soul or in your psyche, you're going to pull up things that's reflective of what's been poured into you, or the well you're drawing from.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to dig a new well, and what that is create new relationships with people that give you something else to draw from, where you begin to see yourself differently. Because as long as you're looking in the same mirror, you're drawing from the same well, you're going to think the same things, you're going to say the same things, and you're going to produce the same things in your life. So you have to change the environment around you. But it's not just changing the environment around you just to change it, because you can take what you believe into a new environment and believe the same thing, because you're carrying wrong beliefs with you. The thing is to recognize that I'm thinking wrong and believing wrong. Get into an environment where you're starting to see different and hear different. And then because you know that you're thinking wrong and believing wrong, you begin to replace these lies you believe in with truth, because you want to change. You want to hear, want to be different. So for me, that's what it's been. Recognizing there's a problem. You know, identifying the lie, identifying that there's an issue, first admitting that. Identifying the lies tied to, then you get into the position of replacing it with the truth about yourself. But that's my process.
One of the big things you said was essentially replace your environment, replace those people that are around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when those negative thoughts have to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes there's little seeds dropped by somebody. They could be doing it in a caring fashion. I mean, they really could be, and just not realize how condemning they are. So pushing people out of your life, no matter how close you are, no matter what their relationship is, whether it's just a friend, whether it's a family member, whatever the case may be, you have to guard your heart and guard your mind against everybody. And make sure that people that are there with you are pouring into you positivity. Now, that's not always to say, Ricardo, you're incredible, you always do the right thing. No, there is that element of saying, you know what? And I'm just picking on you, obviously, because you're here. Ricardo, what you did was wrong. You shouldn't have done this, whatever the case may be. You don't want somebody that always reaffirms your perfection, because none of us are perfect. But having somebody that will hold you accountable, and having somebody that will not pour condemning statements in your head and in your heart and in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much power. Well, what's the Bible say? The power of life and death is in the tongue.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about that is that has a lot to do with mindset and conditioning. And a lot of people don't realize it. They think it's simply you saying something that's going to cause something to happen. There's an indirect effect, in the things that you say causes things to happen. What the things you say cause to happen is it causes you to begin to build a wall of unbelief that creates actions or activities that end up bringing about the things that you repeatedly say to yourself. Because you said these things so often. It's not I said this, so I just created it. No, you created a pathway for these things to happen, because you made it an easy runway for these things to land in your life, because you kept clearing the path for these negative things, because that's all you talked about. It's all you kept saying. So now you've been able to produce that thing and say, well, now you got people say, I told you so. Or it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of condemning statements that now have created a life or created a situation that's reflective of the things that you said repeatedly. So that's why you got to be careful about what you say, but not even so much what you say, what you believe about what you say. Because I can have a one-off and say something, as long as I don't believe it. Because if I believe it, I'll continue saying it.
Right.
And I keep saying it until it becomes a belief system, not just something I believe for a moment. And so that's why it's so important to understand what you're saying, where it's coming from. We talked about cause and symptoms earlier. If you're focusing on the symptom, you're in trouble if you don't know what the cause is, because you won't ever be able to fix a cause by trying to fix a symptom. So that's why I'm so important not to just focus on what did I just say, but what am I believing about what I'm saying, and why am I believing. But anyway, go ahead, John. Because I got so many thoughts rattling around in my head.
No, share some of them.
Well, all of it has to do with what I was talking about, as far as things that are symptomatic, in your life. When we talk about mindset with mind being things you're thinking, and set being things that are foundational, things that are automatic, things that happen automatically. If I have a negative mindset, it's that there's things in my life that are set and preconditioned for negativity. So I'm thinking negative. That's mindset. There's things that I'm thinking in the mind that are set as like on autopilot, where these things are automated in my life. So I have these things that happen automatically for me when something happens. There's two ways to believe. You're the person that believes that this is going to happen rather than this. You have an opportunity to believe the best about this situation, but instead you're always leaning to the worst. You instead of believing, yes, it's something I haven't done before. I don't necessarily know how to do it, but I believe I can. And you put yourself in a position to learn how to do it, rather than someone saying, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that, so I'm just not going to do it at all. Like, that's a completely different set of beliefs or belief system.
For sure.
So people that have that mindset, you're like, I think we said this morning, I forgot who we were talking to. We mentioned, and it's something I had to learn in recent years, that you can't, I think I mentioned, I forgot what podcast, but I mentioned you cannot borrow yourself out of money problems.
Yep.
And I had to think hard about this. Borrow yourself out of money problems. You can't. Okay, so what's the issue? Well, you can get more money and still end up with problems, because you don't know what to do, how to manage the money, or how to create an environment where the money is no longer a problem. The money becomes an asset, where it starts to produce for you. If your mindset is wrong, you can borrow money, but the problem still persists, because the issues that you have didn't come from lack of money. It came from a lack of forward thinking, or a lack of vision, or the wrong mindset that created the problem. And all you're doing is buying yourself time before you get back into the situation where you have to borrow again. So it's the thing of understanding that problem that you have is go back to being symptomatic. It's a symptom. quit worrying about that. What in the world is behind it? What is the cause? What is going on behind that issue? Behind it, your inability to produce, your inability to be able to be consistent in making money or creating finances or whatever it is. What is the cause? I have had to really wrestle with that for myself. Because man, let me tell you, I had times where I've been really fruitful and times where it's been barren, you know. And for me, in a lot of situations, I felt like I was. I think we said one time before, a while back, I talked about fear of failure. Well, I also realized that the fear of failure for me wasn't necessarily real in the way that I thought it was. I didn't believe I could succeed, but it wasn't necessarily fear as much as me not believing that I could succeed. It wasn't fear of succeeding. It was me not believing I could, because a fear is, like I said, it's like someone running in here with a sawed-off shotgun, and they have it in your face where they could actually hurt you or kill you or your family. That's real fear. There's no fear if I go out here and try to do something and I don't succeed at doing it. There's no fear in doing it. There's no real threat to myself or my person or the people around me. There's anxiety about an outcome that's uncertain. It's what it is. So that stops me from doing it. So to change the way I looked at this, okay, if God has not given us a spirit of fear, why am I saying I fear success if he's wanting me to succeed? That doesn't make sense, you know? So I said all that just to get back to this mindset thing. Raggedy thinking creates a raggedy life, you know? And I've had to overcome some raggedy thinking by unearthing causes so that the things that are symptomatic, I begin to lose those symptoms, where I no longer have those symptoms. I don't display those symptoms because I've gotten to the root cause of what's creating this bad thinking and now these bad outcomes in my life. But I wanted to, I want you to break this up so that with all these things that I got in my head that's trying to flood the stage, so to speak, we could kind of section these things off. Because this is a conversation, man, that we could really probably break up into a couple episodes, honestly, because there's a depth and a wealth of things that we could talk about in regards to the mindset and just raggedy thinking.
Raggedy thinking.
Yeah.
So how do you overcome raggedy thinking? We've all been trapped in that cycle of raggedy thinking at some point. We have recently done a series called From Burnout to Breakthrough.
Yes, sir.
And so we're still in the process of it now. And I remember one person that I reached out to come on the show. And he responds to me, he said, that show won't be for me because I've never been burnt out. I said, well, will you come on and explain to us how you've never been burnt out?
Right.
There's a part of me that wonders if burnout is actually a positive thing. You know, it's all in how you handle it.
Yeah.
And is burnout a condemning thought, a condemning statement in your head?
No,
I don't think so either.
no. Perception. Perception is something. You know, it really is. Because if a burnout, if the person looks at burnout the wrong way, they attack. You know, because it's one of those things where you'll feel so burdened that you want. It's like weightlifting. If I get under excessive weight, I go to squat, and I get to a point where I feel like my legs are tapping out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get from under the weight. I'm going to get from under. I'm done. I'm not doing this, because you feel the collapse coming. But for someone else, that same type of weight, they're not going to step out from under. They may ask somebody, hey, spot me, you know, because they want to try to finish this rep.
Right.
They want to go ahead and see just how far they can go, you know, before they'll have to have someone take the weight off of them. It's them not tapping out. It's them going until they've done all they can to get to where they can shoulder that weight, rather than just dropping and saying, I can't do it. You talk about power of partnerships. People like that are in a situation where they feel that burnout, and they're not the ones that tap out. They're the ones that get spotters for their vision, or for their dream. I need to partner with somebody because this weight is heavy. And if they keep going up and down with me and keep helping me in repping this thing that right now is too heavy, at some point in time, I'll be able to carry it on my own.
That's right.
Then I'll be able to increase the weight, and now I need to partner again. Or maybe these two are able to support this next level that I'm going to. Or maybe I need to get new partners for this next level. But either way, the perception is totally different. So I do believe that burnout can be a great thing, because I don't care who you are, how successful you are, you've been to a point where mentally you just couldn't do anymore, but you didn't quit.
For sure. For sure. Life's all about pushing through.
Yeah.
You had those condemning statements coming through. You had those, I can't, I don't want to, I don't believe I can, whatever. Those are very condemning statements.
Yeah.
You've been to the gym with me. You know, right now, my current goal is to be able to bench 315 pounds. When you were at the gym with me and you were spotting me, we put 315 on there. And what did I tell you? I can't lift this yet. I'm going to need you to lift some of it off.
Right.
But the whole thing is, I could have sat there and said, I can't lift that, so I'm not even going to put it on there. But in order for me to get to that point, and in my goal time, which is winding down, I've got to be pushing it.
Yeah.
Sure, you were lifting some of the weight, but also subconsciously, psychologically, I was still the one under that 315 pounds. I was still the one pushing it, even though I realized you were lifting some of it. Mentally, it was still me there pushing it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Like you were saying, you get a spotter. And of course, that's easy for me to relate to at this point in life. But that also helps with those condemning statements. That goes far beyond just the gym.
Yeah.
You having those people in your life to say, you know what, Jonathan, I know you feel like giving up right now. You just need to take some time off. You just need to take some time for yourself. I could have easily said, you know what, I just give up. I quit. I'm done. Those are the condemning statements coming into my head. But yet then you have people around you, like yourself, that say, no, you're not done. You need to just take a breather. Take some time and jump back on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not going to be you that defeats the condemning statements in your head. I am all about mindset. I know the power of positive mindset. I get it. I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on learning mindset, on learning how to implement it. So it's very real to me. Get it. I've owned a business for over 20 years. That's mindset. Yet there's times I can only speak for myself. Obviously, that one person that I talked to, clearly he doesn't relate. Sometimes you just need somebody to come along and say, you know what, Jonathan, Ricardo, clear out these condemning thoughts.
Right.
Whether those are the words that they use or not, that's what it really boils down to. It's just clear out the crap so that you can put in the good.
Yeah.
Because your brain only has so much space for anything. So if it's full of crap, you got to get it cleaned out and put the good in there.
You absolutely do. And you have to be willing to share when I say share your mental space with people that you trust, it's just simply being able to give parts of the burden that you carry mentally and emotionally, share those things up with other people so that they can now take from you those things that you're carrying and that you're pondering and that you're working through, that you're having difficulties working through, and then give back to you either those same things washed and cleansed.
Right.
And so you had clarity where you had cloudiness initially in this thought process, or to give you new thoughts, that replace the old ones. So now your thinking is different. So now your activity is based on different thinking.
Yep.
Changes. So, and I think we were talking to someone earlier about that mindset, skill set, asset, that trilogy of changing your mindset, increasing your skill set, and then creating assets because of it. And honestly, that's what it boils down to. Because once you change your mindset, you recognize that, you know what, I don't have all the know-how, the skill that I need to do the things that I'm wanting to do, these things that I'm starting to see that's possible for me. So now I got to get in the right system. I got to get in the right network. I got to start learning the right things and accumulating the right information, and not just accumulate now. Now I have to assimilate, because I have this information coming in, but now I have to commit to the process of walking it out. So now there's activating the thing, accumulating, assimilating, activating, and so the activating part is where the assets come from. The assimilating part is where the skill set is built. And the accumulating, of course, with a mindset change. But those are the things that we have to be committed to. But a lot of times you need people in your life to become guardrails to help you not go too far off into the accumulation process where you never get to assimilation. You just got a whole bunch of book knowledge, have no clue what to do with it.
Right.
Because you haven't committed to any of it and committed to doing anything.
Right. Yeah, you can learn everything you want to learn, but until you put it into practice, it's useless.
Yeah.
Knowledge is not power. Accurate knowledge is not even power. But accurate applied knowledge is a wealth of power. You got to have accurate and you have to apply it, or else it's no good.
Yeah.
So when you gain this knowledge, like I said just moments ago, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on mindset. But if I never incorporated that into my life, what good does that do? I've wasted a lot of money.
Yeah, you really have.
Been to a lot of cool places. Been able to write it off on taxes. But if I didn't incorporate it, it does no good. Thankfully, I did. And there is so much power in learning stuff, but incorporating it. So what are the best ways to, and I know we're kind of asking the same question again, but to destroy and to blow up the condemning statements that are coming into your head? For people that may not have been listening earlier, for people that have just come in and started listening right now, we're talking about condemning statements and really just blowing them up and killing that monster when it's small, killing the dragon when it's small. Because the more that you feed those condemning statements, the bigger they're going to be and the truer they become.
And like John, they don't have to be anchored in truth.
Right.
If you believe them strong enough, if they're true to you, then they're true. And like I said, they're true in your life. The people around you see that they're not. They see that, I see the same, I hear the things you're saying about yourself, but I don't know those things to be true about you. I know the person you are, but the sad thing is you don't know who you are. You're still living in this, maybe you had a business that failed years ago. Maybe you had a marriage that failed. Maybe you grew up and there are certain things that happened to you where you've adopted this identity. And then people around you see glimpses of the real you in the midst of the facade, I say, what, there's more there than what is there. And then those people a lot of times will see you and start trying to call that out of you because they realize, okay, there's a version of yourself that you don't know, and it's layered underneath all this unbelief, all this trauma, and all this toxicity. So I'm going to try to call that out of you, but you're not believing it,
right? Because
you're living out a false truth, a false reality. And so for us and myself, I honestly had to get to a point where I realized that I'd adopted a reality that wasn't mine to adopt. And what I mean is, these are things that happened to me. These things that were said about me, but none of these things were actually me. These are all external factors that are fighting for control inside of me. So the external wants to become the internal, rather than the internal itself projecting outwardly and changing the things that are external, those things that are around me. Well, my environment reflects who I am inside. Because when you've gone through a lot and you don't have people around you that are able to call out what's inside, one, because you don't have a relationship with them. We talk about relational intelligence briefly in another discussion, and that conversation we'll have in another episode. But someone that you're around that you trust, they'll begin to see those things that are in you, begin to call that out. But if you don't have anyone, they can't call it out. All you're doing is you're taking in those things from outside of you because you're grappling for identity. So you're grabbing a hold of things, pulling them in, because you don't have a sense of self outside of what's happening to you, what's being said to you. So you begin to reflect those things that are coming into your life, rather than you saying, no, I am so-and-so. I am this, whatever it is that's inside. People are calling out of you, where you begin to understand there's more to me. There's more that I have the ability to do than what I've done. My life is more than what's happened to me and what's been said about me. I am so-and-so. You begin to make statements or confessions of faith rather than condemning statements about yourself. because the things that God has said about us is far greater than anything that's happened to us, anything anyone said about us that's contradictory to who he created us to be. So for us as believers, we first have to recognize who God says we are. Like that initial understanding that I am not and I keep saying this because that was one of my greatest issues, is believing that I was everything that happened to me. Everything, every failure, I took it personally. The failure that I had when it came to my sister when she was small, the failure I had with my mother, the failure with my other sister, the failure with my brother, the failure with my own kids, and the marriage, and failure when it came to my relationship with my father. But I took all that personally because, and there's a lot of nuance to that. I mean, there's a wide ranging discussion from the age of 3 up to 40 or whatever it was. But all those things, I accepted failure as a part of who I was. I'm just a failure. Like that's all I've done. I've failed these people in my life. So what that caused, that created this mindset in me that in certain situations, I'm not even going to try because I don't want to fail anybody else.
Right.
I'd rather not do it than to try and do it and fail someone else that I care about. And so it's one of those things where people look at you and say, you don't see this going on? You don't see that you need to respond or do something about this? And in your heart, you want to. But in your mind, you remember the failure. So your heart won't let you experience that failure again because it'll break. That's what you're feeling. I want to do something about this. I want to help. And you may be, through tears, you may be sitting here because you feel it in your heart, I need to do something. But your mind is already, especially your mindset is one of failure. So you say, you can't do that. You can't do it. You care enough to help, but you don't believe enough to do anything about it. So you stay in this place of inactivity and you freeze. And that's what I've done in a lot of situations. That's not an active state that I'm in, but in recent times I've been there where I freeze in that moment because I'm stuck between activity and passivity. And that's a horrible place to be. I think I went off the question.
No. You're good. You're making a lot of profound statements. The thing is just, making sure that you are, first of all, you are pouring properly into yourself.
Yes, sir.
Because the beauty is, as I know you personally, you no longer look and say, Ricardo, you're a failure.
Right.
No, you might say, Ricardo, you were a failure.
Right.
Because you did feel like that in the past. But when you don't accept it today, it doesn't matter if you're going through it right now and you feel like a failure right now. If you feel like you have to claim it, okay, fine. Jonathan, you were a failure in the past. That's in the past. That's over. That's done with. Again, we're getting back into the whole mindset. Your mind, your subconscious only remembers what you tell it over and over and over again. So you want to wake up and say, no, crap, another day. Let's see how I can fail today. Guess what? You're going to fail. You're going to fail today. Without a doubt. We go into the gym. You're standing over me. I'm bench pressing. I want that 315. Now, I'll let you know you're going to have to pick some of it up because I'm not quite there yet. But I'm increasing and I'll be there. Hopefully, you'll be back to the gym with me before I get to the 315. Yes. Hint, hint.
Yeah, I hope so too. I want to be buff like you.
Yeah, I hear you. You're my idol. I want to be like you one day.
Grow up into it.
I hear you. But the thing is, in all reality, all joking aside, just making sure that the people that are around you are not pouring in condemning statements.
Right.
The people that are around you are pouring in positivity.
Yeah.
Because you never know what somebody's going through. They could be on top of the world today, and tomorrow they feel like the entire world is on top of them. Yeah. And everybody's behavior is linked to some reason.
Yeah.
Everything is linked to some reason. So look deeper than there being a pain in the butt today.
Yes, sir.
There's a reason. That's not normally them. There could be a reason.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why it's so important to invest in relationships. and I know this started a whole different conversation, but you and I talked about repeatedly today about how important relationships are and how if you get relationships wrong, you get life wrong. Because there's no way to partner with someone without knowing how to properly interact or create healthy relationships with people. There's no way to marry effectively. There's no way to parent effectively. There's no way to have kids and raise them effectively. There's no way to do anything, lead a business or company effectively. There's no way to do anything effectively without effective relationships. There's ways to have moments of success, but there's no way to have sustained success if you don't get the relationships right, that aspect of it. And so for us, that's one of the things that we're talking about here now with these condemning statements, is the relational aspect of it is who are you allowing to invest in you, but also who are you investing in? Are you, even in the face of seeing someone at their worst, are you speaking the best over this person? Are you pouring into this person? What are you saying to the people around you? What environment are you creating? Are you yourself fertile ground that allows other people to grow in your presence? Are you that? Are you the one who by extension condemn other people because of the way that you live and in your lack of investing in other people? Because what can happen is if I walk around with a spirit of unbelief, I create that in my kids without saying it to them.
Yep.
Because they look at me and without making a statement physically, verbally, I make a statement physically.
Yep.
So that's a condemning statement by extension, by default. So people in your presence are now in a place of unbelief because you never created that, because you yourself aren't fertile ground for belief, for right belief. Because believing you can't do it and you can is still belief, but it's for the right mindset and the right belief.
That's right.
So all these, so y'all just heard, we just said just now, there are so many different things and so many different layers to this conversation and so many different ways that we can go. And the question that I want to ask you all, are you fertile ground for the people in your life? Are you? And if you're not, why aren't you? That's a discussion we can have also on how to become and how to create fertile ground so that people in your life and the relationships around you flourish.
This may be a multi-part series.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be.
That wasn't the way that it was planned. But tune in next week as we will be picking up number 2 of condemning statements.
Yeah.
Number 2 of how many? Well, we'll just see where it goes.
Right.
We'll just see where it goes. So until then, remain blessed and unstoppable. We'll see you again next Thursday right here at the Hustle Faithfully podcast.
God, remember, if you're going to hustle, hustle faithfully.